What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the Final Fantasy VII Trilogy and the big news of today, which, funny enough, the big news is not even necessarily this thing coming to Switch 2. It is, and it's got the date and all that jazz, but in all reality, the biggest part of this entire thing was a statement made from Square Enix afterwards, which talked about the entire trilogy eventually making its way to these consoles. Now, a couple of things to talk about because it's interesting, like the general statement, and then when you read the Square Enix press release, it almost like puts them into tiers, right? So like, you know, within the next couple months, 7 Remake is going to be, or Intergrade, right, is going to be completely clear, right? That'll be on everything that it possibly can be on. Then it'll be Rebirth's turn, and they've talked about that. I believe Rebirth is going to come out on these consoles, whether it's Xbox or the Switch 2, going to be happening in 2026. But again, when you read like the press release, they talk about how they're working on Part 3, and then again they say just overall the entire trilogy is eventually going to end up on all of these consoles. But it's still, I guess, the fun part, which maybe is fun to some people, maybe not so fun to other people. And I've been asking this question ever since Rebirth came out. I think a lot of people have been talking about it. So what do they do with the third game? And I still think it's possible that the plan is to release 3, at least initially, on like PlayStation and PC, like day one. I think it's tough because, like, look, games come out third party all the time, right? They come out on like 5 different consoles, and you could say, well, these guys haven't done it. And you can make the argument that, well, when they've released 7 Remake and then 7 Rebirth, you know, they've only had to focus on, and literally actually, one system at a time, right? Like they first have to figure out the PlayStation system, then they have to figure out PC has kind of been the order, then they do like Xbox and Switch kind of simultaneously. And it takes a little bit of time, you know, in order to do those things. So I guess the question is, look, it is no longer a what if or like will this happen, okay? It's going to happen. All of these games, I guess 1 and 2, or Part 1, Part 2, are not PlayStation exclusive, or they're not going to be, at least Rebirth, console exclusive for much longer. When it comes to 3, it's like, what words do you want to use? Because you could say, well, at the end of the day, it will not be exclusive. And I think one of the main things that people are pointing to that, well, maybe it has to come out, you know, on all of these platforms day one now because of that statement, is because they said that statement. You know, when you're releasing just on PlayStation, you normally don't really talk about the potential for these other things. We've had like the directors of these games and different like higher ups talk about, oh, it would be nice for more people to play them, or oh, it would be nice if Xbox players, you know, got to play these games. But like, this is an outright statement that, hey, Part 3 is coming out on everything. Maybe eventually, though, and eventually is that key word, right? So, you know, again, it just depends kind of on the language you want to use. Can you really say it even comes out on PS5 and PC? I guess you call it a console exclusive for PlayStation, but you know full well, and you know more well than any other game up until this point that's like third party that's doing this. You know better than that it will come to Switch 2 and Xbox because they've already said it. You can mark the date, September 12th, right? They already said it. So you could say, you know, Part 3 is only on PlayStation, but it's only on PlayStation for what, half a year? Like, so, I mean, that's even if it happens. We'll see what happens. Again, like many publishers and many developers are able to release games across all of these systems. Yes, they have been used to doing kind of one at a time, and I do wonder if they're going to be able to pivot and really, like, literally have this like worldwide release on all of these systems at once. Again, it's not like some like miracle, like you have to move heaven and earth to do it. People do it like daily, you know, but they don't do it. They don't specifically, or they haven't done it up until this point. Now, have they not done it up until this point because they've had the exclusivity, you know, contract with PlayStation? Yeah, probably, right? So like a lot of things can change if you don't have that contract anymore. Suddenly, people in the studio become good at like making it for Xbox all of a sudden, right? Where previously they didn't know what an Xbox was. Now all of a sudden they know what it is. So we'll see how it goes. But I think personally That was the most interesting thing. The Final Fantasy trilogy is appearing. It's a staggered release that is honestly a little annoying of like how it happens. But one day, sometime very close to now, when I say very close, I mean maybe in the next year or so, those two games will be everywhere. Any system you choose will have it, any platform you choose. And then part 3 eventually will, and maybe even will at launch. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.